Brought to you by Penguin.
The Amusements by Aingeala Flannery. Read by Dónall Héallai and Clara Harte.
Tramore. Population 6,101. It was off-season and the local youngsters were up to no good in Tip Phelan's caravan park. He wasn't about to begrudge them a few flagons in the dunes until he got a phone call from the Garda sergeant telling him a bad element was hanging around. Would he consider installing security cameras or a couple of Alsatians? That was the way with the guards. They'd make a suggestion, and if you ignored it, you'd be done for tax or speeding or any old shite. The call would have to be acted on. But you were only courting trouble with dogs and cameras, so Tip put a small ad in the Irish Independent instead. Wanted. Caretaker to live, rent-free, by the sea. He was known as Tipperary because the only song he ever sang was Sliabh na Mán in the back room of the Grand on a Saturday night. Nobody would deny he had a voice. There was a want in it that can only be understood by men, since it afflicted them alone. An unassailable scourge for which there was no end or cure. Whenever he cleared his throat to sing, a "shut the fuck up" swept over the bar. Hush, 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 all the way down to the lounge. Tip closed his eyes tight against the silence and began. Alone, all alone by the wave-washed strand, and alone in a crowded hall. The hall it is gay, and the waves they are grand, but my heart is not here at all. His real name was Michael Phelan, but nobody in Tramore, apart from his wife, Verona, knew it. She called him Tip anyway, and he called her V, or VP, when they were alone and she gave him the look, knowing it would drive him demented. They could be at it half the night, and often they were. The next day he'd be addled with desire and a profound ache in his bones. Early on in the marriage, when he was still hurling, he'd sleep out of temptation's way in the spare room, a measure he was forced to take after a bionic all-nighter left him in ribbons for the county final. The sentiment on the sideline was that he'd been brutal, and they took him off at half-time. But the match was beyond salvation. Oh, V was lethal all right. At least she had been before the twins came along. These days she was indifferent to him. It was like living with a cat. When she wasn't changing the babies, she was nursing them, one on each nipple. Their little fat legs kneading her stomach like it was dough. She was exhausted, destroyed. He begged her to patch things up with her mother. For the love of God. Verona bundled her breasts back into the sling she'd taken to wearing in place of a bra and zipped her fleece up to the chin. Hell will freeze over, she said, before I talk to that bitch again. 22 people applied for the caretaker job. Tip ruled out 17 immediately on the grounds of age, criminality, and Englishness. Of the 5 that remained, 4 hung up when they heard the position was unpaid. The 5th was a musician from Dublin. His accent was thicker than tar. We could do with the headspace. The payphone swallowed another 20 pence in him. Do you know what I mean? Tip knew exactly what he meant. The place is yours, he said. The musician arrived at the weekend with a hold-all over his shoulder and a guitar case in one hand. The other hand he extended in a handshake that was too solid to be sincere, his dark eyes holding Tip's gaze for longer than was necessary. Dónall was his name, and he was idling around the 30 mark with matted brown hair and the makings of a ginger beard. He wore a hoop in one ear and a scrap of black silk knotted around his throat. An affectation that left itself dangerously open to interpretation. But he had the strut of a man who wouldn't take any lip. They agreed if there was trouble, he was to phone Tip, and if there wasn't, he was to leave him alone. With the musician keeping an eye on the caravan park and the guards off his back, all Tip had to worry about now was getting through the next few months without the comfort of Verona. Her plan was to dedicate herself, body and soul, to the twins, while he took care of the older child, a boy of almost 4 who tornadoed around the house taking swipes at balled-up.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?